I'm Tom Silvestri. I'm the publisher of the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and I'm here to welcome you to the 24th Public Square. Shockoe Bottom is the best place for a ballpark. First up for the no, Charlie Diradour.
And thank you, Mr. Silvestri, for having me here. I want to thank all of you in the audience for being here as well. I think it shows that you have a strong interest in your community, and I want you to know I share that with you. 5 years ago, I raised significant issues about the financial and functional feasibility of the Braves' proposed move to Shockoe Bottom. And today, I continue to be concerned about those issues, and I remain committed to encouraging a thorough public debate prior to committing our city's resources. You'll hear a lot tonight about baseball, but the issue is really not about baseball. I'm a baseball fan, and I know that we ought to have a baseball team here in our region. You'll hear about families and fun from Brian, and I'm all for that. And you'll hear that there's some frustration that the city hasn't done enough to shore up infrastructure in Shockoe Bottom. And guess what? I'm for that too. But the premise that minor league baseball is an economic driver cannot be substantiated. Innumerable studies have proven that the sports complexes do not show a solid return on investment for the municipalities that participate in building them. The Shockoe plan proposes the construction of a $70 million ballpark in the center of a development of totally unneeded Class A office space, retail space, hotel square footage, and more restaurant space. All of it built in a 100-year floodplain. Now, the first $150,000 study that Davenport did for the city concluded that 65,000 square feet of new construction was the maximum amount of new construction that could be feasibly leased and or sold in Shockoe Bottom. Now, why now are we being faced with a 200,000 square foot proposal? It's simple, folks. The budget won't work at 65,000 square feet. Now, let me tell you what the bond issuance will mean for us. In May of 2003, the city issued bonds, CDA bonds, to do the Broad Street renovation projects. Last year, our city learned that the parking revenues that were intended to pay off those bonds weren't going to cover the debt. Now, let's understand that CDA bonds are not obligations of the local government that created them. Does this sound familiar? City Council last year had to pass legislation that would commit city tax revenue to pay off those bonds. We, the taxpayers, are paying $1.2 million this year to satisfy the bondholders, and will be doing so in similar amounts for the next 26 years. The investment bankers got their fees. The lawyers got their fees. The developers, they got their fees. And it was all built on a false premise. And just as I submit that Shockoe Center is being built on a false premise. Now, while the developer and the team owner tell us we're getting a free stadium and $3 million in revenue per annum, I want you to remember three things this evening. One, we're now paying the Broad Street project off ourselves. Two, we will have to pay for the infrastructure improvements and modifications to allow for stormwater and traffic around the proposed development. Now, that number is somewhere between $15 and $25 million. And third, ladies and gentlemen, they ain't nothing free. It is my opinion that in the end, the city of Richmond will be forced to back these bonds. We cannot afford this risk. Look, let's all come together. Let's use land we already own and do it in a regionally cooperative fashion. Before I finish, I know the light's turning red on me. Mayor Jones, on the hustings while he ran for office last year, said something very important. He said he wanted Richmond to be developed by design and not by default. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that this project has got the word default written all over it. Thank you very much.